About Raffi earlier, we in the early childhood songs of Raffi, and I was also reminded as everybody was coming in to the chat and we were seeing everyone that I was reminded of Romper Room. You know, I see Manny and I see Gary, and I see Lou, and I think I'm just showing my age at this point. So, so welcome. This is a very interesting time in this new project that we've been putting together, although it's been quite a while getting it to come together for us. We did a lot of analysis in the area of scanning, and we're not pretending that that you all don't know what scanning is, because we all do. We actually believe that scanning it has become more of a feature or a function of an overall platform rather than the sort of be all end all that tells you, you know, what your vulnerabilities are. And so OSHEAN went on an expedition to see what the next generation of scanning and vulnerability assessment was moving towards. And I want to say the stars aligned from a timing perspective in an acquisition that was done by Dell Secureworks at the same time we were sort of rolling this out. And I think the inside baseball stuff in this analysis would tell you that that we hit each other right when we were, you know, coming to market and we were wanting to make a decision, and they were just getting the sort of channel development together and things like that. So we had a fairly extended negotiation. In the meantime, we were also considering, you know, developing our own custom scanning and vulnerability architecture, and a couple of our engineers and some people went off and looked at that possibility from us. But truth be told, when all was said and done, we looked at this market and said, you know, Dell Secureworks has got the right solution at the right time, and specifically at the right price point. We don't ignore the price point of putting these architectures together. I was on with a few CIOs yesterday about how much does it really cost eventually when you take an individual IP and you have to layer on the different things to protect it from cybersecurity, and you know, a per IP price here for malware, and per IP price here for scanning, and a per IP price, you know, for DDoS protection, and all the other things can get costly. So we are very, very careful of trying to do the right thing on behalf of our membership in these analysis. So we thought, again, the stars aligned. Really, really great opportunity from just an overall architecture perspective, and I get confused about what to call the category, and that can be a challenge because categories are overlapping. But I kind of like the idea of calling it a remediation platform, because it really does go well beyond just the scan as an architecture, but telling you specifically, you know, here are your vulnerabilities, here are the things you need to do in a priority order, and if you do this, then your scores, you know, will go up. And I'm pretty happy with that. I think that the UI is extremely important, and I'll be turning this over to Eric in a minute to show you the UI. You know, you can get overwhelmed by information, and if the UI doesn't fix that for you and show you exactly what you need to do and why, you can get lost in this cybersecurity world that we're all involved in, right? And so we have invited Secureworks to this webinar. I'm going to hand it off to Eric Boyven from Secureworks, and he will take you through, and then I'll come back and we're going to talk to one of our early adopters, Lou Terrace from Wheaton, at the end of the conversation, to get just a quick and albeit early, very early, impressions of using the solution in his environment up at Wheaton. So Eric, take it away.
Thank you, David. It's really an honor for me to meet all of you OSHEAN partners and to talk to you about the VDR solution that Secureworks is offering to all OSHEAN's members. My name is Eric Boivin. I'm located in beautiful Montréal, Quebec, hence the weird accent you'll be hearing. Today, my agenda is to present you the solution. It's not a full-fledged demo. I just want to tell you a little bit more about the story, who we are, what are we building, how are we doing things differently, and then just some small screenshots so that you can have an idea. So without further ado, I would like to start by sharing the screen. I don't know if Nimota, if you're the one that does it, and I tell you when to switch slide, or I can present it myself.
You can present it yourself, Eric. That works.
Awesome. So here, and now let's put there. So just an introduction to who is Secureworks. Secureworks is a leader in cybersecurity, being very active in terms of helping customers through their threat intelligence, their research, incident response, but also we are committed to develop a platform named Taegis that helps through all different aspects of cybersecurity. Today, I'll be covering the Taegis VDR product in particular for vulnerability management, but Secureworks is much more than that. Secureworks is widely recognized in the industry for its products and its managed services. And it's a pleasure for us through our partner organization to help MSSPs just like OSHEAN to help to deploy our solutions and to help for your different cybersecurity challenges. So vulnerability management is a field that has been been going on since years. We have here some statistics that go back to 2001. It's been more than 20 years actually that vulnerability management has been one of the different tasks that are being done in cybersecurity. Vulnerability management, however, is a problem that becomes harder and harder to tackle on as years go on because the complexity of the field just increases. One indicator for that is the number of new vulnerabilities that are disclosed keep coming and keep increasing year after year. The reason for that is that our security landscape is becoming wider and wider as the years go on. New cybersecurity solutions come and try to answer all of this very dynamic landscape that all IT organizations have to take care of. But the problem now is that it's becoming impossible for to have an efficient vulnerability management program when these solutions become very manual. So it is important to use metrics that will help to target your remediation efforts on what really matters. So for us, one element that we base ourselves on is the CVSS score, which is widely known in the industry. CVSS score for allow us to give, well, allows the NIST to give a score between 1 and a 10, and telling how critical that vulnerability is. But one issue that we have with this is that risk change depending on organizations. I know I've been working a lot throughout the last years with education organizations, and these environments are very different than what you would see in pretty much standard companies. The risk is at a different level in such organizations. So this is why it's important to maybe modify what is risk for an organization and to make sure that efforts are put in the right place, especially since these networks keep growing, the complexity keeps increasing now that we're adding web applications, IoT devices, and virtual environments through the cloud. So it is important for organization to have some help to, to put their remediation effort at the right location. So the threats in cybersecurity keep increasing. We've heard a lot through the last year about the impact of ransomware. And of course, ransomware is just one of many type of exploits that are being done by threat actors. But all of these things, all of these type of attacks have the same goal. They want to detect and exploit known vulnerabilities. Zero-day attacks, which is part of that list, is also part of the normal chain of attacks, but these are very difficult to set in place and require a lot of time. Compared to regular ransomware, where it's just spray throughout the network and try to detect if anybody is running something that is unpatched. And if it's the case, then you pretty much have the recipe known, because these vulnerabilities and these vulnerabilities are mostly known since years. So the way to exploit those are being already known, and organizations which haven't patched and which haven't put in place mitigation measures can be victim. So this is why regular chains of attacks on all types of devices, endpoint network devices, cloud assets, IoT devices, and of course, our users themselves. All of these attacks will be leveraging vulnerabilities that are known. And this is where the real problem lays. So for all organizations, when I have the chance to speak to customers, this is what I'm telling them, is that to have a good cybersecurity program, you must make sure to have a good vulnerability management program first and foremost. And with the VDR product, you have a whole vulnerability management program available to you in a very simple and a very efficient way, which I'll be covering today mostly. To go through vulnerability management, there are multiple solutions that already exist on the market. Like I said, this is a field that has been going on since more than 20 years. But traditional solutions can just add to the burden of managing vulnerability management. If every day, every week, when you get your scanning reports, you just see an increasing number of vulnerabilities, then you're feeling like Sisyphus in the Greek allegory, uh, trying to push this rock to the top of the mountain, but it just falls down all the time because the challenge keeps piling up. So we need to find ways to, rather than see this task as a huge mountain that is impossible to climb over, is to go step by step and tackling risk on a more tactical level. Also, one issue that exists with traditional tools is the complexity to set in place and to operate. This is one thing that OSHEAN has managed to appreciate from the VDR solution, is its simplicity to deploy into your existing environments. It requires minimal effort compared to traditional solutions. Traditional solutions require almost a day-to-day, full-time operation, because setting in place vulnerability management programs where automation is not part of the deal requires a constant attention. Now, on the other way around, we have the Taegis VDR product. What will help you is to focus on what really matters, to take care of risk within your environment. And this is thanks to contextual prioritization. A lot of the tasks in Taegis VDR are put under the hood. So rather than putting these tasks into your hand, we automate those, and we use AI and machine learning to help you focus on remediation rather than focusing on operating a solution. And finally, thanks to machine learning and artificial intelligence, we're able to set in place a solution that constantly improves and understands your environment better. Environments, especially in the education field, can be very wild. There's a very large variety of assets that can be that can be deployed. And taking care of such environments can be very difficult for a day-to-day operations. By using machine learning, we are able to set in place a solution that will learn patterns over time, that will understand what is critical for you, and will be able to prioritize these things that are maybe more important for you and deprioritize the vulnerabilities that maybe could deserve to get your attention later on. So this is the Taegis VDR product. The VDR stands for Vulnerability Detection and Response, by the way. It is an intelligence vulnerability management solution where, and we really like to capitalize on the intelligent part. Most of our team here in Montreal, we're all mathematics buffs and people that really enjoy the field of artificial intelligence. And this is where cybersecurity has the most to learn. And we've recently had a discussion with the Gartner analyst, and they were able to recognize the role of artificial intelligence in modern cybersecurity solutions. And this is why they published an article that pretty much confirms that what we're doing is on the right way and that competition should go into that direction. Because without going with artificial intelligence, that means that this effort lies in the hands of your resources. And we all know that cybersecurity resources are something that is very limited. People are often overworked. They have to take care of an ever evolving environment that is very complex to manage. By leveraging artificial intelligence, we're able to focus on what is really important for you and help you take care of your critical vulnerabilities. All of that solution, by using artificial intelligence, automation, machine learning, makes it a very easy solution to deploy. It's it's something we've got great results. Just as a story here, our solution has been used in a major Canadian province and for their entire education network. So our solution has been selected, and one of the main reasons is because of the ease and the speed at which they were able to deploy a whole vulnerability management program within all schools from K-12 to colleges and universities. And that speed allowed to produce quicker results and to quickly understand also where is the organizational risk within the whole provincial government education structure. Traditional solutions would have been very difficult to set in place, and it would have taken this project months and months. While by using the VDR solution, they were able, within a few months actually, to have a full-blown vulnerability management solution and program deploy at a provincial level. I know that the OSHEAN members are more in the Rhode Island uh, state. Yes, yes, but it's pretty much similar. All right. Um, so 4 main accesses with Taegis VDR, what you can do: gain resilience. So being able to get to get a system that will improve over time, that will understand about your environment, that will learn from your teachings. So over time, this solution just improves. And day by day, with all of its findings, with all of the activity within the network, it will be able to become better. Improve operational efficiency. This is very important. Like I said, with limited number of resources, of course, OSHEAN will be able to help you with this. But once OSHEAN helps you with this platform, now you have a full-blown vulnerability management program that works pretty much automatically. And now you can focus on remediation. By accelerating remediation, you are able to quickly tackle these vulnerabilities that are critical for your environment and help you to remediate them through a pipeline that we propose within the platform. And finally, The goal of all that is to reduce the risk in your organization. And David mentioned in the introduction, we are able to give you a score, like metrics that you are able to follow and see how good are you at taking care of risk within your organization. So all of that whole volunteer management program will be available to you thanks to the Taegis VDR platform. It's it's very complete, and for me, it has roaring success since our days at Dell Security here in Montreal, and now in the Secureworks family. The VDR product works in four main axes, which are the traditional steps of volunteer management, but all within the same platform. So at first, to the top left, we have asset auto discovery. This is a beautiful feature that allows us to discover all the assets within your network, whether they are endpoints, servers, printers, IoT devices, or even web applications. Inside the cloud or on-prem, we are able to find all the assets that exist within your environment and build that inventory over time. And we're doing this on a daily basis. Educational environment can often be very organic because let's say faculties will set in place new labs. You will have students that will install students or personnel that will install new things. These environments are often maybe less control. I don't know for you if maybe you've managed to have a better control than here, but these environments are in a constant shift, and it's impossible for a network administrator or the cybersecurity team to to know everything within their environment. Thanks to asset auto discovery, we'll find these things on a daily basis, and if there's something new that we discover, automatically we'll put it into a vulnerability scan schedule. So that way, these new assets that come in your network will be recognized and will be able to find the vulnerabilities on them so that you can understand better your threat landscape within your organization. Now, once we know these assets, now we're able to do vulnerability detection on those. We're able to cover all types of vulnerabilities. We have a very rich set of tools within the platform. We have our own proprietary scanning tools, and we're also using other tools through partners, proprietary, open source. We're using a whole toolbox. And the strategy that VDR product is using is that whenever it's time to do a scan, we analyze what is on that machine and what are the right tools that should be used. So you don't have to configure that. Let me give an example. You have a web application. So first we'll detect this is a web application. So we should use our web application suite where we'll be able to do cross-site scripting, SQL injection, etc. Now we're scanning that website and we find a form. All right, so let's try to do some form injection within that form. If we figure out, hey, this is a WordPress website actually, then we'll take our WordPress suite of scanning. So that very dynamic scanning environment makes sure that we're deploying the right tools to detect everything that is in there. And that makes it a very complete scanning tool because the techniques that we're using are various and they adapt over time. Now, with this very complete list of vulnerabilities, now it's time for you to understand where your attention should be brought on, because not all vulnerabilities are created equal. We've seen initially with the CVSS core, there was a distribution about what is critical, medium, low, etc. But now it's impossible for a modern organization to have zero vulnerabilities. That's impossible and never seen. But what is important is to reduce risk by taking care of those vulnerabilities that are more critical for you. And those vulnerabilities that are critical for you depend on context that can be both internal to your organization, but also external. What is happening in the world? What's our threat intelligence? So this is where the main of the effort of the VDR solution will be, is now take our scans results take all those vulnerabilities that were found and to order them in a way that gives you a roadmap as to what you should be fixing at first, making it very comprehensive for you to understand this is what we should be putting our efforts right now because, and we'll give you the arguments actually in the product, telling you this is where your attention should be directed to because, for example, threat actors are currently leveraging this vulnerability for ransomware attacks. By having this information, now it's easier for you to justify making the efforts to remediate those. And speaking of remediation, this is the last and most critical part of the vulnerability management program. Remediation planning is helping you give the tools to take care of the vulnerabilities and to keep track of what has been solved, what hasn't been solved. We're even able to integrate with ticketing systems such as ServiceNow or Jira, so that way you're able to direct the remediation task to the teams that will be doing the job. So this whole ecosystem is all available in the VDR platform. Very complete, and just like David said initially, this it, this is done in a pretty cost-effective way, and also with a very simple license model. So rather than using solutions which require to take multiple technologies altogether, the Taegis VDR platform is offering an all-in-one consolidated vulnerability management platform. And this way, you are able to have one single point of contact, one single platform that will help you to understand better what are your vulnerabilities, where is your environment right now, and where you should be taking your remediation actions. Also, it's important for me to say that the Taegis VDR product is part of the Taegis family. And now, since the acquisition of the Dell platform by Secureworks, this is something that we'll see more and more integration with the, for example, the Taegis XDR solution, where we'll be able to complement each other's information and then making sure that you are really aware of what is going on and putting your effort at the right place thanks to our intelligence. So let me talk about prioritization because this is something that is critical for all organizations. There's a concept that I've been covering since the start of this presentation that is called risk. Risk is a product of likelihood of an attack to happen or for an exploit to leverage a vulnerability multiplied by the impact. These two things, when put together, allows us to understand what vulnerabilities really matter the most for you. So what we've built for that is an onion layer model where we take 5 groups of vulnerabilities. And if you're aware of machine learning and artificial intelligence, these are expert systems. So 5 expert systems that act as judges, and each one of those will be using factors. So we are using more than 45 individual factors. These factors are scores, metrics, heuristics, but also machine learning algorithms, where we are analyzing your data and the both internal and external, and we're able to compute what is the likelihood of a vulnerability to be exploited, but also what would be the impact for your organization. And now we can see to the right, these are some of the factors that are used. At the start, every vulnerability is based on its score, which is the CVSS score. But now what we do is that we go through these list of filters that will be able to increase or decrease the prioritization of this vulnerability. So let's say, for example, in the first block, we know the vulnerability properties. This is what is that vulnerability in itself. We know how easy it is to exploit. We know how easy it is to detect. By if it's easy for us to detect, it will be easy for an attacker to detect as well. So we are able to boost up the prioritization of that vulnerability compared to a vulnerability that is very difficult to actually detect within your environment. So if it's harder, maybe it's harder for the attacker as well. So the vulnerability itself will explain how difficult that vulnerability is to find in your environment, which will increase or decrease the likelihood of exploitation for that vulnerability. Next, we have all the block of impact. This is your environment and how your organization is structured and how where is that vulnerability within that landscape. So at first, the second block in the list is the asset. What is that machine where that vulnerability is present? How exposed it is? What else is on that machine? What is open? What are the ports, the services? So we're trying to understand what is that machine's role, and also we use behavioral analytics. That means whenever you go into the platform and you keep looking at one specific machine, we deduce from that that this machine is important for you. So over time, the machine learning will be able to understand where your attention is on and where you put your remediation focus. Next, the network context. What's the network attack surface? If an attacker is able to breach into that machine, how will they be able to pivot and to do lateral movement within the environment? So a very open network where there's a lot of vulnerabilities increases the chances that an attacker could chain exploits and then go deeper and deeper, reaching privilege escalation and things like that. The next group is organization. Who are you? How do you use the platform? How do you behave? When we show you some kinds of vulnerabilities, are you fixing those right away or are you uh, ignoring those for a while? We will learn about what you're doing within the platform and also in your remediation efforts to understand what is critical for you. And finally, the external context. This is where we're taking threat intelligence and we're able to use that information and understand what is currently leveraged by threat actors. We're using something very interesting, which is the CTU, the counter threat unit within Secureworks, which is a team of researchers that do analysis about threats that exist right now in the industry. And we are able to use that threat intelligence within the platform. So not only will give you what are the important vulnerabilities, we'll tell you why they are important with up-to-date information in regards to all vulnerabilities. So these trends that we're seeing on the market on the in the infosec community, we're able to leverage that and put that information within the product. So all of this is a lot of information. All of this is taken care of by our AI, doing this at real time for every single volunteer in your environment, changing when the data changes, when the reality changes, we'll adapt to that. So we're painting you a very comprehensive understanding of what's the context of each volunteer in your environment. So finally, the goal will be to help you develop effective remediation plans so that you're able to fix. One important thing, by the way, I've been working for many years in vulnerability management, and patching is not the only solution to a vulnerability. Putting in place mitigation, such as compensating controls, is also something that can be done. Removing an asset because it's reached end of life and the vendor won't be able to deliver patches for those. So this is why it's important to adopt an asset-centric approach, where we don't take each vulnerability in a vacuum, where we take them in an isolated way. We understand that by taking care of one asset, getting rid of everything that is critical on it, either by mitigation or by patching, this is a good way for you then to move on to the next target. So rather than to jump left and right, being able to get someone's attention so that they fix one vulnerability, and then 3 weeks after you come back to them, okay, now I'm back to you, same machine now, you fix problem A, now it's time to fix problem B. By grouping vulnerabilities together, now you're able to take someone's attention on that asset and give them a plan for them to fix. And by mixing remediation strategies, dedicating resources to some specific remediation plans, you are able to build a a whole program based on remediation. And thanks to the Tejas VDR product, this is something that I've seen more and more in our customers, where they've been able to leverage our product as a platform initially to help build themselves a vulnerability management program. And now you can see that maturity that came just naturally by using the best practices and the tools that are offered in the product. So this is something that is fantastic for me to see with our customers, and I'm sure this is something that can all help you also. So now what I wanted to do is just show you some quick screenshots about what does it look like in action. So at first, we have a dashboard. Every product, of course, will have dashboards to help you understand what is happening in your environment. As you can see, our dashboards are very clear, and the whole interface actually is very clear and lean because we want to focus your attention on what really matters. So we can see to the top left, this is the health score. So this is a little bit like the reverse of a risk score, where we're giving you a score based on your most critical vulnerabilities. So over time, as you are taking care of those vulnerabilities, or as new vulnerabilities come into your environment, this number will change over time. So you're able, like in this case, to customize the dashboard, putting a time frame, and now see during the last quarter, we got a decrease of 4% in our health score. So that means we've been maybe targeted by some new vulnerabilities that are more difficult to take care of, and we need to put the effort. But also we're able to give you what will be the payout of those remediation plans that you're currently working on, giving you the impact of that. So you're able to plan out your actions, your remediation action, and see the payoff of these. So that brings you measurable metrics for you to analyze the performance of your vulnerability management program. The next diagram to the top right is the vulnerability variation, where we're able to show you day by day all these new vulnerabilities that come in into that are published by the NIST and that are discovered in your environment. So you're able to see not only how many you have, but how many of each level. So as things get fixed, you will see that variation happen, and you know how good you are at taking care of those as they appear. The asset view to the bottom left, this is where we show what's the variation in that organic network. Like I said, in education environments, I've seen a lot of those asset diagrams change wildly because new assets come in or come off all the time. So over time, you will see these assets that appear in your network and that are automatically added into a scanning schedule. And finally, to the bottom right, this is the distribution where we take the CVSS score of all the volunteers and now going through the filters that I've shown with the prioritization engine, we're able to show you what is the score based on the contextual prioritization. Like in this case, we're able to see there are actually 9 critical vulnerabilities that are a 10 out of 10 that should be taken care of, rather than the 3 that we had initially with CVS score. But overall, what we can see in that diagram is that there's a general deprioritization of vulnerabilities. So we're bringing to your attention what is critical, what is really important for you to take care of, and we deprioritize what can wait for later on. When we review the list of vulnerabilities in your environment, we have a very clear UI where you're able to see these vulnerabilities in a clear way, starting from the number 1 priority to the number, I don't know, 700 in that case. All of this is filterable, searchable. You're able to generate reports based on those. And one thing that I want to bring your attention is that we do something called vulnerabilities grouping. So rather than give you a CVE based approach where we show you what are the weaknesses within each product, we group all those together into one line item. So let's say we can see number 2, outdated PHP. Well, there's multiple vulnerabilities, multiple CVEs that exist for that PHP version. So in traditional products, you would see all those CVEs individually. And now this report wouldn't have 700 vulnerabilities. It will have way more than that. And for an organization, yes, maybe you're curious to see what could be exploited in PHP, and all that information is available in the product. But what matters to you is that this machine has an outdated PHP, and this is where you should be bringing your attention. So this panel is very easy to navigate, easy to understand what are the vulnerabilities, and you're able for each one of those to click on them and get the context and also the remediation solution that we're proposing. One interesting thing for each vulnerability that you'll have is that this onion layer diagram that I showed earlier, this translates into personalized vulnerability prioritization for each and every vulnerability. You're able to see where that vulnerability started and where it finished through a scoring diagram, which I find really interesting because now we can see, for example, this is a vulnerability that was almost an 8 on the CVSS scale, but as it goes through the expert system, we actually bumped it to a 10. And not only we do that, but we tell you why. Like in this case, we can see that this is a vulnerability that we brought to a 10 because there are actually exploits which are uncategorized, but still InfoSec communities are aware of the possible exploitation for that. We know that there are denial of service exploits. We have also CTU, our counter threat unit, has publications in regards to this. And in this case, it's we can see to the bottom left, iSensor rules, which is one of the multiple threat intelligence that we're using. In this case, it's one of our products where we put compensating controls and we detect that an attack could be happening for this vulnerability. So by taking this information all together, we're able to not only tell you this is important, but we're able to tell you why it's important, and also how can you fix that vulnerability. For each vulnerability, this threat intelligence will be presented and you'll be able to get up-to-date information. Meaning if there's a new vulnerability that just got published, or if there's an old one, but now we have a threat actor that is leveraging this vulnerability, or daily publications that the counter threat unit is doing in Secureworks will be filtered and presented for you within the platform. So you have customized threat intelligence based on your vulnerabilities in your environment, which is a goldmine of information that we're giving to our customers. And finally, remediation plans. So now that you're aware of your vulnerabilities in your environment on all assets that we've detected, you're able to group those vulnerabilities together and to create a plan. You're able to assign it to someone. You're able to even create a ticket in a ticketing system, and you're able to keep track of the progress of that remediation plan, seeing how many have been fixed so far, how many are still being fixed. And also one interesting thing is that we are able, that every single thing that you've seen to date and in the platform is API driven. So we have an open API for all functions and metrics in the platform. So we are able to do things like using Power BI, extracting information, and do custom reporting. So this is something that is available also for you, so that you can create, if there's one report that you would like to get, the data is available, and we're even able to do automation, planning scans, or integrating into a DevSecOps pipeline, etc. So this is it for my presentation. I hope it was interesting. I'll be there for a question until the end of the hour, but now I would like to pass back the micro to Dave, because we're excited to know that there's already some OSHEAN members that have been using the VDR product, and I'm very eager to hear about their experience.
Thanks so much, Eric. This is it's interesting for somebody in my seat to have a level of early perspective on the product. So I'm trying to learn the product while our members are trying to learn it as well. And I've been in the business for a long time, and I can get somewhat jaded when we use terms like ML or AI, and it's, you know, it does all this stuff for you. But what I'm learning is the applicability of individual use cases of an ML instance. And one we were talking about the other day was the idea that scans, can, in the old days, scans could overrun jobs that were important on the network, and you can get network bottlenecks because you're running scans. And I learned that one of the ML implementations, with the Secureworks VDR, is that it uses ML to understand when to do scans in a given window, so it doesn't just overrun. And it gets better and better, like you say, over time, because it learns the behavior and the traffic of the network to determine when to run a particular scan on a particular asset. I found that to be very helpful, because I have certainly heard that can be a challenge in scanning environments, with older scanning techniques. So I find that as I go along, I tend to learn. You can take down the slide if you want, and we can get back to video. And I know everybody doesn't want to show their face, but Lou does. And so Lou, I had mentioned earlier, Wheaton has taken on the product and has done early impressions. And so I asked Lou to join us. I'm not expecting that it's only been a short period of time, so we're all just getting used to the implementation. But I thought I'd ask Lou, what do you think so far? What are your early impressions in using the product? You are moving from a different product to this product, and so what are some of the things you've seen?
Yeah, currently we had the Qualys product up and running for several years, and we decided to give this one a try. And so far things are going well, getting it up and running. You folks at OSHEAN got us up and running with our cloud account and all that, so that was really easy and seamless. And then we just had to download the virtual appliance and get it talking to the cloud account. And the one nice thing about the virtual appliance was there was no real configuration other than putting an IP address on it and having it talk to the cloud account with using a certificate. So that was really seamless and easy. And I was glad that there's no data on that. It's just there to scan. And then the other thing that I really have liked with this is the auto discovery of the assets. In our Qualys environment, we were putting IP addresses on lists and assets broken up by administrator. And we have a lot of our servers and hosts in the 64-net subnet. And I just have it scan that every week, looking for new devices and new hosts out there. So that was nice. Just like, okay, let's see what it finds. And it found stuff. It found everything. And I've been just organizing it using the tagging feature to say, okay, these are our servers. This is that group's servers. So I can kind of group them that way. And so that's going well. And it's doing some scanning. We're getting data. In fact, I was going to talk to Brian Gibson, my colleague, about turning off the Qualys one soon, so we're not having multiple scans. I think we're close to being able to do that. And oh yeah, the only other thing I want to mention that Eric spoke a lot about was the I haven't done a lot with the remediation plans yet, but as far as there was one feature on vulnerabilities and seeing the top vulnerabilities, #1 in the list, because in our current environment, we're running these scans and we're sending out these reports, and Brian and I, we handle the vulnerabilities for our servers, like, all right, let's just get these done. But I guess I like the fact that now we know, like, where should we get started? Where should we really focus our efforts? I guess I have a better sense of that now, like, so.
I found our discussion about, oh, is somebody talking? No? I found our discussion about, when we got into the, tagging and then the team aspect, that you could then, essentially build remediation plans within discipline teams, right? So you've got your Windows Server folks, and you've got your folks that are doing maybe your VMware servers and that kind of thing, and you can partition so that everybody's not getting bombarded with all of the vulnerabilities of all the different servers. You can actually partition your remediation plans, the teams, the access of what those people can do and when, and that kind of thing. I found that to be interesting.
Yes, we've been working with Jeff Ambrose from Secureworks, and he mentioned that, and I haven't played with that yet. At this point, I'm still just working on scanning. What do we have for vulnerabilities out there, and then just kind of tagging. But yeah, the next step will be playing with the teams, and of course the remediation plans. So. I
mean, I believe ultimately, especially in looking at the reporting, that we will evolve as a user group over time to more and more compliance, right? And proving what it is that you're doing and how you're staying on top of things. I mean, we've already gotten into the situation where most of our, our audit, even financial auditors are now putting process compliance and requirements on our IT staffs, to show that they're on top of this stuff. And I as in our discussions, about this recently, I could see that sort of evolving in your discussions and looking at the platform. You should have that checkbox pretty well in hand,
exactly.
over time. And
yes, but overall, it's getting there. We're using it. I think it's going quicker than I thought. I wasn't sure. I was like, how are we going to be able to let go of the Qualys one? And I think we are. Yeah,
no, that's excellent. I do appreciate your perspective at this point, and being on the front end of this journey with us. I want to open it up to the rest. If anybody wants to ask any questions, we got a few minutes left. Either of Eric or myself. I don't know if you want to raise your hand or just blurt it out. You can certainly just ask any questions you may have. And I'll look to see if there's anything. There's nothing in the chat, so. I will then at the end hand it off. I want everybody to understand who's a OSHEAN member. You have the ability. We can do demos. I've got Kim Canoyer and Katie Cassidy on the list from my engineering team, who are versed in being able to do demonstrations of the product, so you can see the UI. We also have put into a proof of concept phase with Secureworks, so that we could run a proof of concept on your networks if you want to try that. Try before you buy kind of thing. And certainly talk to whoever is assigned to your institution as in member services under Mark Montalto's team, if you have interest. So with that, Namoda, you want to take it away?
Yes, so thank you everyone for joining us this morning. If you have any questions, feel free, you can email vdr@ocean.org. We have some other information on our website, and we hope you have a great rest of the day. So thank you, everyone. Thank you, Eric, again.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.